everyone, and welcome back to the Playeasy Warm-Up, the podcast where we dive into the stories, people, and places driving the sporting event and tourism industry forward. I'm your host, Kerri Shields. Today, we have part two of our event organizer Shark Tank. But before we jump into it, I wanted to bring my co-founder and chairman CEO of the Playeasy Platform Company, Sean Flaherty, on to talk through some of what we heard from event organizers at the Innovators Summit. We walked away with some really clear takeaways around the event experience and helping organizers better communicate the impact of their events. And we've spent the last month or so, thinking about how we can help solve both. So I wanted to have Sean join me to talk a little bit about what we heard, what we've been building, and what we're really excited to now bring back to our event organizers. So before we get into the rest of our event organizer Shark Tank conversations, here's my conversation with Sean. Sean, welcome to the Playeasy Warm-Up podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I know I wanted to have you on because as part two of our event organizer Shark Tank episode, I think we had a lot of takeaways from our Innovator Summit this June. And it's something that I know we wanted to introduce this episode with, just diving a bit deeper of some learnings and takeaways that we had from our Innovator Summit, as well as some exciting updates that we have moving forward. And so before we jump into part two, I want to talk about the event organizer side of the summit more broadly. So we had so many questions and conversations with organizers over those few days. And what did you hear from them? And what are some of the biggest takeaways that you walked away with?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I know the first summit that we didn't have as many event organizers engaged the full time, and so it was really cool for this year to have more event organizers there that were not just part of the Shark Tank, but actually a part of the whole technology sessions on the first day as well, and just diving deeper into it. Going into it, like obviously the focus that we've had over this last year or two specifically has been focused on building destinations and DMOs, technology for them to be able to use. And then thinking about, okay, how can we apply that technology also to serve the event organizers? And one of the, I guess, anxieties that I had going into the summit was, will this be relevant to event organizers? Some of the technology conversations that we were having that were really more built for the destination in particular. Would these solutions also be relevant to an event organizer? And I think the biggest takeaway as I left the summit and had conversations with really everybody was just how engaged the event organizers were. I would actually say that they were the most engaged out of really any type of person that was there, which was really cool to see and really got our wheels turning on some of the feedback that we got from them and how we can position our technology and take our technology to the next level to serve the event organizer just like we're serving the DMO.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and even just the quality of event organizers that we had, and I think you'll hear just from the conversations from this two-part episode, but just how engaged they were and wanting to help us build towards. And that's something that we're going to implement in next year's summit, is having those event organizers there for that full time and fully engaged as we had this summer. And so one thing we did hear over and over again was about creating a better experience for the families, the athletes, and fans beyond the competition itself. And we saw a lot of excitement around Compass Tour Guide that we launched in Ann Arbor. But we also realized for event organizers to truly adopt something like this, it had to work everywhere they host an event. And so can you talk about that feedback and how it led us to build the Event Experience Network?
Yeah. So I guess to take a step back here as well is the Compass Tour Guide and the AI experiences built for a DMO to be able to take all of their local things to do content and get that integrated into the system, integrated into the AI, and it allows the AI to basically be the voice of the DMO and surface all of the different things to do around the area that's curated by that local destination. And one of the things that we've been really working with destinations on is implementing that in the right way. Now the AI is great, and when you test it out and demo it, it works fantastic. But the real value, the real thing that AI provides is actually visitor engagement data, right? That's really what the DMO is looking for. They're not just looking for an AI that can answer questions well when they ask a question to it to test if it works. They're looking at visitor engagement and is this driving more engagement and more interactions with our visitors? And so the way that we've been working with destinations is they would build the AI for an event that they're hosting. And so the AI would have knowledge of the event and be able to recommend different places to go nearby that event. And so as we're at the summit and we're explaining this to a whole room of people, destinations being one of them and event organizers being another, the event organizers really lit up. They're like, oh my gosh, if I had that type of experience at the destinations that I'm running my events in, that would be so much better than what I'm doing today, right? In being able to help my participants that are traveling to this event be able to have the best time, not only inside of the facility, but also outside of the facility, and take their stress away, right? Take their stress away from planning their trip and knowing where they're going to go. The event organizers want to be able to provide this experience to visitors where they don't have to worry about anything. They come in a good mood. They're walking into the event and they're there for to build a great memory. It's an important, every sports tournament, every event is an important time in the participant and the parents and everybody that's going, their lives, right? They want to create a great memory. And so if you could take the stress away from planning their trip and where they're going to go and what they're going to do after the event, where they're going to stay, the AI tour guide really helps provide that for an event organizer to give to their attendees to improve their experience. And so that was really cool to see just everybody's eyes light up and how valuable that could be. On top of that, with the destinations and how we set this up is the destinations can now give that experience to an event organizer to be able to implement for that particular event in that destination. What's also nice is the AI tour guide reads the event organizer website and can answer support questions for people, where to park, is there an admission fee, what's the schedule of the event. So it can help kind of reduce the amount of support emails and support questions that the event organizer gets if they have to answer the same question 100 times every event, right? So that was also nice for the event organizer. But the thing is that kind of, as you mentioned, an event organizer needs this to work everywhere. And one of the challenges that we've had throughout this process is if a destination's adopting this, they're then giving this to the event organizer, asking them to implement this technology for one event, but not all of their events. And what we heard from event organizers is they love the solution, but what they're looking for is a piece of technology that can fit within their operations for everything, right? They don't want to have one-off operations for this event and a different one-off operations for the other event. That creates inefficiencies, right? They're looking for one solution that can span across every single thing that they do and become an integral part of their operations. And so as we really looked at that, we were thinking, okay, well, one of the constraints that we have is this would work for all the destinations that are on Playeasy and managing their things to do content on Playeasy. But it wouldn't work for all the destinations that aren't. And so that was one of the things that we needed to really try to figure out is in order to be able to offer this to an event organizer to be able to use everywhere, we had to have things to do content everywhere. And so what we have really decided to do as we went back to the drawing board here is to provide that solution to event organizers that they can use absolutely everywhere. And the way that we can do that is basically, if you're if you're a destination as a partner of Playeasy, you can manage your content. And if an event organizer activates an experience within your destination, your content is what's being surfaced, and it's only your content. You get all of that engagement data. But in this case, the destination doesn't have to do the work of setting it up and convincing the event organizer to adopt it. The event organizer is adopting it themselves. So the destination can get their content put in, get it set up one time, and then events now can be activated in their destination by the organizer, and that engagement and the value kind of flows directly through without the destination having to do a lot of legwork. However, on the flip side, if a destination is not on Playeasy or not managing their content through Playeasy, what we're also introducing with the Event Experience Network for event organizers to do this absolutely everywhere is the Playeasy Experience Curation Team. And so when an event organizer gives us events in different markets that aren't on Playeasy, our team now can create a curated experience around that event ourselves to be able to provide the visitors with that great type of experience that they're looking for, the support chat for the event organizer, so we can still activate and turn that on. It's just in this case, the Playeasy team's the ones that is managing the experience. And then the destination, if they want to participate, they can then become a partner and be the ones that control that experience and get the data. So what we've introduced now is the Event Experience Network. Event organizers can now start to create these experiences absolutely everywhere across the country, and it's either curated by the DMO or it's curated by us. And so really excited about that. We think that this can really help event organizers adopt this solution really all across their operations and provide more value to the destination partners that we have on the system.
Totally. And I think something else that we were really excited about, just as another major takeaway, especially during one of my favorite panels of the week, was our RFP panel and best practices there. But it was the need for event organizers to better communicate the value and economic impact of their events that they bring to a destination. So they're creating significant impact, but they don't always have an understanding of a way to communicate that to a DMO. And so what did we hear at the summit, and how did that lead to what we're building with the Playeasy Impact Report?
Yeah. So this was the next step of this, that kind of a light bulb went off as we were starting to think about those conversations that we heard on that panel, which is basically the destinations are like, you guys have got to be able to track your data of your events and put it into a language that we can understand so we can evaluate it and bring it to our board to be able to support you financially. Like, that is what has to happen. The salespeople at the destination, they might love you as a person, but they have to back up their decisions and they have to bring this to other people to be able to get sign off on it, right? So what is it that the event organizer can share with the destination in a repeatable way that speaks the language of a destination, so a destination can justify those decisions? And for an event organizer perspective, that is harder than it sounds. You have to be able to track the data of the engagement of where people are going, how many people are going to different restaurants, how many people are staying at different hotels, what attractions they're going to, like what are they doing, as well as what is the economic impact of their events, and be able to put that together into a nice clean presentation that has some proof behind it, right, and some credibility behind it, so that the destination can feel comfortable that these numbers are accurate and they are exactly what we need, and we can bring this to the powers that be to make the decision on supporting the event financially. And so along with the Event Experience Network, right, as an event organizer, you have all of your events in the Event Experience Network for these experiences that you're activating. Well, since you have all those events in Playeasy, we also now are introducing an upgraded version to our economic impact calculator, right? And so as you're activating these event experiences for your events, you're automatically gathering all the data on what conversations people are having with you, what they're clicking on, which hotels they're going to, which restaurants they're going to, which attractions they're going to. And that is amazing information because it's live, factual visitor engagement data that nobody can question, right? And so you have the actual behavior data of your event attendees. And then on top of that, now we have the economic impact calculator that can calculate what you expected the attendance and economic impact to be, and then what the actual attendance and economic impact was. And so what we're also now introducing along with the Event Experience Network is participating in that as an event organizer. We can now easily give you a report once your events are finished and we have the data of your numbers. We give you back a report. Every event, every destination you were in, the dates that they took place, what the economic impact numbers were that you were expecting, what the economic impact numbers were that actually happened, as well as the visitor engagement data of the behavior of your participants, all within one nice, neat report that's powered and verified by Playeasy. You get that report, you can now use this as an asset as you're talking to destinations for your next RFP, and it's all in a language that the destination understands. And again, from an event organizer perspective, this is just a byproduct of using the Event Experience Network. This report just goes in your inbox, having been a participant of it, that you can now use. And so super excited about that. We think that really the Event Experience Network helps the experiences, and now the reporting gives you that impact. So when you go out to your next RFP, you have more data and more intelligent conversations that you can have with destinations.
And I think that that's one of the things we love, is that we've taken those two needs and made them a part of a really simple workflow for the event organizer. And so could you quickly walk us through what that looks like, from sending Playeasy their events to activating the visitor experience to getting an impact report that they can take into their next conversation with a destination?
Yeah, absolutely. So super simple. We're trying to make this as easy as possible for event organizers. We know the event organizers have a ton going on, super busy. And so all you got to do to get your events activated in the Event Experience Network is just send us a link to your website where your events are. Just give us a list of your events and we'll get them all created for you. And we'll send back an Excel sheet with links to every single one of those experiences that you can then activate on your website, send out to an email, have QR codes on site. We give you all the tools to be able to just have all those different items that you can plug into the different spots where your visitors are touching. From there, once your events end, we ask you, hey, send us the attendance numbers, right? What was the registration, how many participants, how many spectators, and how many hotel rooms per night did you guys generate? Once you give us those for your events, we send you back the report. That's it. So from an event organizer perspective, you share your events with us, you activate the experiences on your website and through other areas, and then you tell us how many people came, and we give you back the report. So super easy. Hopefully that's less than an hour of time that you have to put into being able to give us the information we need, and you get the experiences and the report that you can reuse for your next year's cycle of events. So that's the flow.
Awesome. That was quick. You're not usually that quick, but it really is that easy. And I think it was important for us to be able to communicate exactly why we have the summit. I had a conversation this week of what is the purpose of your summit, and it is to have these honest conversations, get this feedback, and figure out how we can build solutions to fix those problems and just enhance the overall experience that all of the stakeholders are having within this space. And so with that, let's get into part 2 of the Event Organizer Shark Tank from the Playeasy Innovators Summit. Thanks, Sean, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Enjoy.
Patrick, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, and super excited to be back in Ann Arbor. I actually grew up in Port Huron, Michigan, so it's nice to be back. So Megan and Mike and Zach, thanks so much for hosting this week. Great to be here.
Yeah, and I know that you're someone that knows probably a lot of the people in this room right now, but for those who don't know, what is AJGA, and can you give kind of the landscape of how big your organization is?
Yeah, sure. So Patrick Cansfield with the American Junior Golf Association. We were established back in 1978. We currently assist just over 11,000 kids from all 50 states, 60 countries. Annually, we host 153 domestic events. We have 40 international events, and our main goal is to help kids grow on and off the golf course with the end goal of earning a college golf scholarship. And so those events help us do that. We have a lot of character development initiatives that kind of go along with our programming to help with the growth and development.
And could you talk about some of the big events that you guys currently run?
Sure. So yeah, we're kind of all across the board. So we help those kids that are ages 12 to 19 years of age. We have beginning events, which we call preview events. So those are for first-time players that have never played at the national level. All of our events bring together kids usually from 10 to 15 states, 3 to 5 countries to the different destinations that we go to. So about 80% of those kids are needing overnight accommodations and all that sort of thing. Outside of the preview events, we also have our Junior All-Star events, which are specifically for those 12 to 15-year-olds. And then that leads into our Open Series, which is 12 to 19. And then we have our invitational events, which are very similar to majors out on the PGA and LPGA Tour. So you see a vast array of skill levels across the board. And at the end of the day, the goal is to help those kids get recognized to play at the next level.
And I mean, you guys run events in every state. And so what really stands out about a great host city?
Yeah, sure. So from our standpoint, there's really 3 things that we're looking for. Obviously, the most important thing is the facilities of the golf course. 18-hole facility, ideally a clubhouse that has food and beverage service, full driving range, practice putting green, all that sort of thing. And then from there, we can get very creative. We do have a lot of venues that maybe don't have full driving ranges, so we'll have off-site driving ranges. We've hosted many venues that don't necessarily have the food and beverage component, so we can bring in off-site food trucks, have vendors come in and participate. So we definitely can get creative. And then as far as the partnership with that local host committee or destination, we're also looking for building those local committees and having the volunteers and that sort of thing. So you guys are all stewards of your community, and you guys kind of know the right people and the right folks to connect with. And I think for us, that's the biggest thing, is kind of opening those doors and bridging the gap for the AJGA when we come in as guests to your community, and just being able to highlight, what it is that makes your city so special, and being able to get that across to our parents and players and make them feel welcome and want to come back. So the partnerships, extend all over the place. But I would say from our standpoint, everybody's kind of hit on it today. We want to feel a part of your team, and we hope that you feel a part of our team when we're in town for the week of our events.
Do you have an example of a recent success story from a great partnership with the city?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple that I want to kind of touch on. There's tons of folks in this room. We talked about Auburn Opelika yesterday. We have some Louisiana friends in here that we host events with. We do the international events as well. So a lot of you probably know Discover Puerto Rico and Carlos and his team. That's a really cool event from the standpoint of we run the junior PGA event. So they have a PGA Tour event there in Puerto Rico. We host the junior version of that, and the winner of that tournament actually gets an exemption into the PGA Tour event. We do a similar sort of thing in Bermuda, where our Rolex Player of the Year gets an exemption each year into their PGA Tour event. So there's a lot of cross collaboration both on the PGA and LPGA Tour side. This year was really fun. We hosted the Mizuho Americas Open, which is a co-sanctioned AJGA LPGA event. So our top 24 girls play inside the ropes with the LPGA Tour players, which last year was really cool. Nelly Corda, probably a lot of you know her. She played with Aphrodite Dang from our tour, and they both were the champions of that event, which was televised, and just an unbelievable display of women's golf, which is really cool. And then another really cool partnership that we just established this year, actually with the state of Idaho. So we've never hosted an event in the state. That conversation came directly from one of these conferences with Lucas in Boise. He connected us with the state folks, and we now host an event in Idaho. And we also have a year-long social media marketing partnership with them. So they are our Operation Hydration sponsor at all 153 events that we host. So a lot of great branding on site at those events. We also do a social media platform with them, and they are on our website, part of our AJJ monthly emails that go out to all of our stakeholders. So a lot of different creative ideas of ways that you can get involved with the AJGA, whether it's event specific or more kind of in that marketing DMO side of things.
And I love hearing those kind of stories where, you and Lucas are friends, and that came about as maybe not seemingly an opportunity, but a new opportunity that came about just from the relationship. What other current opportunities do destinations have to partner with AJGA?
Yeah, so we currently have 2 open RFPs. The main one is the day-to-day business. So the 153 events that we host, junior specific, all of our events are typically 5 days long. So we start that event with a qualifying event. So that's 78 individual kids that haven't already qualified into the tournament. So very similar to Monday qualifiers out on the PGA or LPGA Tour. That leads into Monday, which we have typically our official practice round and junior M fundraising event, which is an opportunity to get your community stakeholders, members of the host facility, out to play with these top-ranked juniors. And the stories that come from those events are incredible. The likes of, hey, I played with Jordan Spieth when he was 13 years old at XYZ tournament. I played with Justin Thomas when he was a little kid. And our longest standing event is in Ashland, Kentucky. We've been there for over 42 straight years, and they run 2 junior Ams. And the cool part about that is all of our events, the goal is to benefit a local charity as well as AJJ's foundation. And with that event, annually it raises over 6 figures, and it helps give back to the 9 local high schools in the community that we host in. And it pays for the golf programs, the high school programs for both boys and girls for all 9 of those local high schools. So super impactful, and the community just wraps their arms around the event, which is super fun to see. And obviously we love them, and they love us. So. really
And
cool.
I know we don't have enough time to talk about this, but for anyone interested, you guys do such great work within the community and just making golf more accessible. And so I highly recommend researching all that you guys do as an organization. But I know we are at the Playeasy Innovators Summit, and the AJGA has been a big beta tester in what we have recently released. And so I do want to ask, why is it that you've bought into innovation, and why is that important to your overall event experience for your participants and spectators?
Yeah, so I touched on this a little bit yesterday, but for us, there's limited opportunities to play AJJ events. We only allow the kids to play a maximum of 5 events per year. So we really want each event experience that they have to be of the highest quality. And not only do we want them to come back, not only to play AJJ events, but we also want them to come back and play in whatever host city that we're hosting those events in. Our goal is not to be a one and done organization. We obviously do have events that rotate around the country, those invitationals that I spoke about earlier. But the majority of our events are year over year events, and we're looking for that long term, partnership with them. So with Compass and Playeasy, it's really helping us enhance and amplify that tournament experience, and really spotlight that local host community and what we're doing from an AJJ perspective.
And I mean, we've had multiple conversations. You've worked a lot with Sean and John and just figuring out the beta testing of Compass. And I think I was on one of those calls, and it was really cool to see how you guys saw utilizing Compass in a way that we had not thought of before, which is the support side of things, and how much you guys get asked the same questions over and over again and have to do a million other things. So could you speak to why you saw the value in that?
Yeah, so for us, it's actually simplified our day-to-day business. So obviously, we have tournament directors that run our events, and they get asked questions all the time. But sometimes parents will go to maybe the wrong person just because they can't find XYZ's contact information. So Compass has really helped us with that, and that's what we were so impressed by, is that it was pulling that information directly from that tournament website and referring those players and parents to the correct person. So for us, it's been a lot less back and forth, and they are going directly to the individual that we need them to go to, so that we're not having to track somebody down inside of our organization, which has been super helpful.
Awesome. I want to open up to any questions.
Yeah, I've actually been lucky enough to go to one of your events, and what stood out to me is these parents are traveling, and it is like it's long days where the kids are out on the golf course. So I'm guessing there's a ton of time for these parents to want to know, where can we go eat? What else is there to do around this course? Is that a topic that just comes up consistently? Like, I've never been here before. We traveled in. Like, what should I do outside of this?
No, for sure. And it's funny because I think a lot of families use our events as vacation spots. So they're traveling not only with siblings and parents and grandparents, what have you, but with those limited opportunities, with the majority of our events being over holiday weekends or during the summer when the kids are out of school, they are traveling together and are looking for those, extra spots to see. My dad would probably be retired if it wasn't for me growing up playing AJGA
Yeah.
and the costs that came with that, right? So it's pretty funny that how much parents do invest in their kids and the opportunities that they provide them. But to get back to your topic, there's definitely downtime and things that people are looking for, and that's the beauty of Compass. You can find those different opportunities in that community and explore outside of just the golf.
Hello again, Patrick.
Hi, John.
For everybody, I have been communicating with Patrick for the better part of a year. He was actually one of my first event organizer relationships I made starting in my position in my destination. And the question I want to ask, because I think it might be a good conversation for everybody to hear, and I know we're all anxious for lunch, so I'll keep it quick. Can you talk a little bit about, especially with our conversations in trying to bring the AJGA to North Central Ohio, how the event itself can help highlight not only your golf community, but a golf course that is maybe on the fence or trying to ultimately win that business on both sides. Can you talk about the efforts of what AJGA does to showcase and highlight that?
Yeah. So, hopefully, everybody that I've worked with and everybody that knows me, hopefully you guys get the same feeling that we're trying to find the best fit for your community. So we can host events, 78 player qualifier, 78 player tournament, and we're only needing the golf course in that case for half a day. So we're opening it back up to the membership to guest play in the afternoon. So not a complete course shutdown, which usually bodes well for the host facility. And along those same lines, we're also trying to amplify, I've talked about that a little bit, everything that's going on in the community. So really, tagging the golf course and providing that publicity to the local market. So whether it's through the newspapers, online articles, what have you, we want the media presence to be impactful to the host facility and really help, drive new business to them as well. And also put them in a good light where, hey, you're supporting this youth development cause, this charitable initiative. And oh, by the way, this is going to be a year-over-year event that, folks can come out and be involved with, whether that's from a volunteer standpoint or playing in, our junior AMs. So there's a lot of different ways that we try to work with host clubs and host destinations to put them in the best light possible, as well as the AJGA.
Awesome. And if you can help our team not come in last place next year at the Aces.
Yeah, that Duffer Award's pretty cool, though. I don't know. So one last thing, too, I mentioned, and I didn't quite get to this. So the two RFPs, I'd mentioned kind of our day-to-day events that we had talked about. We also do have a really cool opportunity, a co-sanctioned event. It's a kind of first of its kind with the LPGA Legends Tour. So on the PGA Tour, obviously you have the Champions Tour. LPGA, you have the Legends Tour. So this event would be 40 LPGA Legends players. So think Annika Sorenstam, Julie Inkster, playing inside the ropes with the top 40 AJGA girls. It's a unique experience to highlight, women in golf. And, for somebody, I think it's an unbelievable opportunity to get involved with the AJGA and an LPGA Tour event. And I would say from that standpoint too, if you have hosted, Epson Tour, LPGA, PGA Tour, maybe you've grown out of that or you're looking for something new, we're a great fit to kind of replace that or add value to what you're already doing. So please reach out if there is interest. And for everybody that, is a current partner, really appreciate your support and thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. So could we start just by giving a bit of your background and what you do at Angels Adaptive Waterski Foundation?
So we are an adaptive water ski program that works inside the state of Florida. We basically were the volunteers of a former program starting in 1994 all the way to 2015. Our director, Ann, ran the program as a sergeant. She was the leader, board of directors, the designer, everything. And when she passed away in 2015, we lost all that. She asked us to change the name and make this something more than what she had done and advance the program. So we renamed it after her, Ann, and we are her volunteers who she called her angels. So Ann's Angels. We do water ski beginner program events all over the state of Florida, about 14 a year. The typical type of person that joins our group are people with disabilities, mostly wheelchair, mostly spinal cord injuries, but we do autism, amputees, basically any disability out there. And we get them out on the water, get them to have a good time and get them involved in a sport that gets them out of the house and out from in front of the TV and a part of society and becoming a better part of society.
And I know you mostly just run events in Florida, but you are expanding and growing. And a lot of destinations do have a body of water. And so what does it take to host an adaptive sports event?
So depending on what type of adaptive sports you're in, there are adaptive field type sports, and then there are adaptive sampler type sports programs, which do everything from adaptive gear for climbing, adaptive horseback riding, paddleboarding, kayaking, archery, just about any sport you can think of. There's an adaptive side to that. And since the adaptive community has grown so much, and we're the largest growing group of sports related individuals in the country. A lot of emphasis is put on the fact that everybody in this room at any time in your life can become a part of this community. It's the only minority that happens. So we try to serve that community and make it a better place for everybody. Those events get us out and doing things around the country, get us out participating and socializing. And that's the biggest part of our program. And I've created 22 programs doing water skiing just in the United States. Our goal is 50 programs in 50 states. So that is, I think we've got 47 programs now that I'm involved with, all up the East Coast, all the way out to California and Oklahoma. We even have a grandchild program of ours, water skiing in Alaska. So we're pretty wide known as the authorities on adaptive water skiing, and I try to provide those programs with the means of what they need. So locations to do this. This summit is very big for us as a community to be able to connect with you guys and find more venues for more of these sports all up and down the coast.
As you try to get to those 50 states, 50 events in 50 states, what is it that you're looking for in a host city?
A host city or host location, we're looking for a body of water that has a nice gentle slope into the water, or a dock that we can drop people off of with the tail of the ski into the water, where the volunteers can grab them and put them in position. Deep enough for a boat to run. A little bigger body of water than, I would say, 2 football fields at least. Anything larger than that is great, but we would have to have at least 2 football fields.
And I know we met when we were in Visit Central Florida for their partnership conference. And so could you speak to why has that partnership been successful, and how have they been able to support your organization?
Well, Visit Central Florida helps us out through not only resourcing grants, but for the county, but they've also supported us in getting us involved in Playeasy and helping other programs that I've been involved with from other states come down here and do events in Florida. So, Above the Wake, Saginaw, they come down and do 2 events in Florida every year. I understand, I just talked to a group just south of here that's in Michigan that started Wake the World Adaptive. That is one of 9 Wake the World Adaptive programs in 9 different states. So these programs are out there making those areas look good. And those communities and those programs that are taking them on, you're showing to the public that is what you're interested in. And the public is responding. Visit Central Florida and Polk County, they show it off in the media, and it makes the county look like heroes. And it's a win-win situation for that county. As the media goes up, we produce more media in the adaptive community than most of the other sports combined. Everybody wants to see what we're doing because it's such a good thing to see a child in a wheelchair get out there in the water and just become alive. It's just an incredible sight.
That's amazing. And like, when you are evaluating a potential destination partner, and thank you, I mean, it's clear to see just your passion for what you do, which is just really, really nice to hear. So what are those qualities and commitments that you are looking for when looking for a host partner?
Somebody that's involved in it. We want somebody that, we don't want a partner that just says, hey, do this, and goes off and we never see them again. We want a partner that's going to be involved with what we're doing. They see what we're doing and they come out and volunteer with the program. We take volunteers from the surrounding community. That is the biggest way for us to grow because the community sees what we're doing. And some of the community needs healing themselves. So our volunteers are also part of our program that we're working on. We have veterans that come out that need to socialize after being overseas and in combat zones. It's invaluable to them to be able to come out and do an event like this and get involved with the community and become a part of something bigger than themselves again. It's a really rewarding thing.
We've had again, John's new to Playeasy, like I would say within the last month as come on, but just it's amazing what the events you put on. It's awesome having you here. But talk a little bit about the size of the events. I know you did say like it's growing. There's a tremendous number out there of people that are looking for this, but just the events alone in Florida that you've run, the number of participants, like that could show up for an event.
So our Angels events are typically about 30 students, somewhere around 60, another 30 people watching, 20 volunteers, and any community involvement. That's not a very big thing for most of our events. But when I start partnering with other programs that are doing other sports, like Sports Ability Alliance in Tallahassee, their events are 800 students. Those events incorporate adaptive horseback riding, archery, eco rover trips, hunting trips, all kinds of stuff they do in the community. And their sampler events have 20 to 21 sports going on. If you're in a wheelchair and want to get involved with something, that's the type of place to go to, because then you're going to be able to sample everything out there at once in that community and then get involved with whoever you want to and what sparks ignites your fire inside.
One of the things that if destinations are interested in adaptive sports and what's going on in their communities, John, I feel like you know everybody in this space, and you do work off other events. It's not just water ski. So you've already said that, but feel free to talk to John. He's a great guy to talk to, and how your community can get involved in these types of events.
So one of the things that these groups have, that they're a nonprofit. They're usually run by small programs and small boards. Some of them are stationary, but some of them move around. They go around the country. Wake the World Adaptive. They are in 9 states, and they travel. The Sports Ability Alliance is going through Florida, but we're doing 3 different venues for their sampler program by the time we get to 2027. There's the New England Waterski Collective. They're actually branching out, and they're following after us and going out into the surrounding states and doing events, because they said we can't sustain it in one location. And they're becoming a much larger program, a lot stronger for they're able to travel. Most of us bring all the equipment we need to these events. We provide everything, including insurance, including lunch and all the safety crew and all the volunteers. But one of the biggest things is a positive location that's easy accessible and is ADA compliant, so that wheelchairs and amputees and individuals that can't move around as easy can get where they need to go, onto docks, onto stands. We do an ADA ramp for horseback riding. So they actually roll up an ADA compliant ramp to a top platform of 4.5 feet, and then they're able to transfer onto the back of the horse. All of these items, like Central Florida, we have 1 ramp. Every program uses that ramp. So the resources are there. We just need locations that can host this. It's not typically your group that has a baseball field or a soccer field or a football field. It's typically small places like Christian camps summer camps in your area that have water features, have docks, have locations that can work. And then, of course, with the smaller nonprofits, they're looking to get funded to do these. Most of us don't ask for a lot of money. We're just asking for some expenses, gas, take care of lunch, take care of one or two small items that are involved with this, so that the nonprofit isn't putting out money on those items. But some of them, like Wake the World, they come in, they take over, they have everything they need, and they just move into an area. They're paying 15 boats, pull 300 students and run them 6 in each boat in the morning, come back for lunch, switch out the participants and go back out. And the boat drivers train these individuals in water skiing. Mostly, like I said, in disadvantaged kids in group homes. And then we train them for adaptive programs, and they now have 9 adaptive programs in different states.
Awesome. Well, John, if any destination wants to connect with you, what is the best way to do so?
They can reach us on ANSAngelsAWF.org, or same thing, ANSAngelsAWF@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Either one would get a hold of me and my board.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John. Thank you for being here. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
I know a lot of people in this room probably already know who you are, but for those who don't, could you give a little bit of your background and your role with the NCAA?
Sure. My name's Anthony Holman. I'm the Vice President of Championships and Alliances at the NCAA. What that means is I oversee our team that manages a majority of our championships, everything except men's and women's basketball. And I manage our playing rules and officiating department, as well as kind of lead our business strategies team, which includes site selection and bids. So that's kind of my reason for being with you all here today.
And for those who are not familiar with that bid process, I know we're in the middle of it. Could you describe what goes into the official bid process and what we should expect going into this year?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give a little history here. We've had a couple of different models over the years. We initially started with just kind of one-offs. I've been at the association for 17 years, and it was just kind of like, hey, we need a site. We go find them. There used to be rotations between conferences, or we had some alliances from here or there. And then we had a senior vice president, Mark Lewis, came on board, and he had come from the Olympic movement. So we went to kind of an Olympic model of every 4 years. And then we had new leadership and wanted to do an analysis about how often we were bidding it out. And we wanted to align our bid cycle with some of our sponsorship deals and our media rights agreements. So the last time we had a 2-year cycle. And then we got feedback from bidders and staff and other folks and facilities about, being too far out or feeling like we were in a perpetual cycle. So the next cycle that we're in now is a 3-year cycle. So hopefully this is a sweet spot. So what we have done and what that looks like is we prepare RFPs, and those have been developed and were released back in October. Hopefully you have seen those and are aware of those. But we have not even opened our bid portal yet to start accepting bids. And that was intentional for 2 reasons. One, we wanted to give a long runway, a long pathway for folks to kind of review those RFPs, engage with our team and our staff, give us an opportunity to go to industry events like this and kind of do a better job of not only just not just responding or saying, hey, here are our RFPs, bid on them. We wanted to do a better job of saying, hey, you got a longer runway, really delve into this, think about it. And we want to give you some feedback on, hey, we think Ann Arbor, Michigan is a great place to host X, Y, and Z. So we would encourage you to bid on that. We're not going to discourage you to bid on other things, but we want to give you a little more direction on some of those things. So that's what we're trying to do now, be more intentional. The second part of that is we heard from many of you all that our bid portal was little outdated, little antiquated. So we're building, operating under, we're calling it a bid modernization project. So we're building a new bid portal. So that's the other reason why it hasn't been open yet. It's moving. Any of you that have done development and new technology, it's moving. at its own pace. We're hopeful still, shooting for a late summer opening of that. I don't have a date to announce. What I can tell you is that when it does go live, there'll be 60 days to submit bids, right? So 60-day window. So everybody keeps asking me, when's the bid portal going to open? And I don't know. But when it does open, you're going to have 60 days to get your bid in. But don't wait to that, right? All of the RFPs are there, right? The nuts and bolts of it are going to be the same. It's going to be entry, right? Got to have budgets, got to have facility information, all of those types of things. So all of that can be prepared now. Don't do like my kids in school and wait to, I got a test on Friday and it's Thursday night at 11 p.m. and they start studying. So do all that work in advance.
I think it's been really cool just to see the evolution of the bid process since you have taken over, and you have been so intentional with hearing the feedback and responding in a way that people, I think, have really appreciated. And one of those being the executive summaries that you now have on all of the bids, I think is great. What would you suggest for any destination to do now as you prepare for that date being announced?
Yeah, I think, and that is the executive summaries. Thanks for mentioning that, Kerri. Was kind of born out of feedback that we received. Some of our championships are pretty extensive and they require a lot. You can have anywhere from 20 to 60 pages in an RFP, depending on the championship. And that's a lot to delve into, especially for some of our DMOs or sports commissions that have small staffs and you're looking to bid on multiple things. So what we tried to do was do what we're calling executive summaries. It's a Cliff Notes version, right? A 2-sheeter or 1-sheeter that talks at a high level about what are the, I heard Rachel from Valley Forge talk about it earlier on the panel saying, hey, information's good, but there can be too much information. What we're trying to do is, here's a snapshot. Take a look at this 1-page, 2-page, or you can read it in 5-10 minutes. Does this make sense for your community? Do you have the amenities to meet this? If you do, then dive deeper into the full RFP, and we can help you that. But if you take a look at the executive summary, do the dates work? Okay, keep going. Do you have the facilities that we need? Great. You've seen that we include kind of the room pickup needs. Okay, you keep it's a checklist, right? You keep moving down a list. Here's what the average expenses normally look like. Here's what the attendance is. The size of the attendance requirement or capacity requirement doesn't fit. All right, put that one aside. Keep moving on, right? That type of thing. So that's trying to be intentional about that and helping you all to do that. My team is a little bit concerned because, when we have these cycles, we have upwards of, I think we had like 12,000 bids last time or something like that. And they're like, oh, we're going to see a reduction in the number. Yeah. But of the 12,000, only like 4,000 were really viable. Right. So we're hoping to have more you guys call them qualified bids, right? We want you get qualified leads. We want qualified bids. That may mean that Valley Forge in the past may have bid on 16 things and only got one. Well, they may bid on 4 this time and get 1, right? But the percentages stay the same and they don't spend a whole lot of time swinging at every pitch or wasting their time. Sorry, Rachel, for using your in every example, but you did a good job this morning.
And let's go off of that. So what, in your opinion, separates a viable bid versus a quality bid?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first is, a viable bid is, can you meet the specs, right? Can you meet the minimum specs to begin with? The second part of that is, and Aaron, I don't know if he's still here, they may have taken off, Aaron from Evansville. We talked a little bit last night about NCAA championships for the large part are really low risk, high reward. When I say that, what I mean is we're not seeking a bid fee for most of our championships. Many of them don't have a financial guarantee even, right? So if you are submitting a bid and you tell me it's going to cost $100,000 to host our championship in your community, pay your staff, do all the things, if we agree to that and accept your bid, we pay you. We reimburse you the expenses of hosting our championship. And then you retain all of the hotel revenues, all of the sales tax, all of the media coverage that comes with that, right? So it's what I've been trying to tell folks and educate people on is, man, this is a really, really good deal for you all. So much so that as my business strategy goes on, we may need to start thinking about bid fees for some of those things. So Ryan and I have been working together about justifying that bill, right? Giving you what the economic impact you can expect for that, so that you can go back to your stakeholders and say, yeah, the NCAA really wants us to host Division III field hockey in our community. Well, that may not sound sexy, but we know that there's going to be 8 teams over 5 days. Average attendance is this, media coverage is that, and you're keeping it all in your community, right? Is it sexy? No, but there's little risk in a time of the year, a week before Thanksgiving, that's not a lot going on in your area anyway. Just thinking about it that way. Swimming and diving. We have 500, 600 student athletes that are in a community for 6 nights. Do we have huge numbers? No, because we're typically in natatoriums that hold 15 to 2,000 people, but we know a direct spend of 600 kids, 200 coaches, 100 media outlets, our staff, right? So we're delivering 1,000, 1,200 people over 6 nights. Do the math, you got 8,000 room nights right there. But is swimming and diving sexy? Maybe not, but holy cow. You telling me you can't convince your aquatics director that this isn't valuable enough to have and close your pool off to the youth for 4 days or make them practice in the morning, right? Just thinking about it that way. We haven't done a good job of selling those other ancillary events, and that's what we're committed to doing.
I think something I really like that you communicate is that there really is a championship for every city. And there are a lot of mid to smaller destinations that are here. And so I think bidding on an NCAA event championship could sound intimidating. So what would be your advice in how to go about creating a quality bid for one of your championships?
Yeah, so we have learned, and there have been some great communities who have really leaned into this. Salem, Virginia, is one. Not a huge city, but they've identified some of our Division III championships in their market, and it's become niche for them, right? It's really kind of, they know what they have in terms of field size and stadiums and hotels, and they think that they can serve that well and do a really good job for it. And they have. Kerri, North Carolina is another community that has leaned into Division II sports because of where they're located. Kind of those things are important. So to answer your question, the first thing is, what's unique about your town, your city, your municipality that helps us, right? We got to have the facility, and this is no slam on park districts, because we need them, but we're not youth sports, right? I have so many people that come to me and say, hey, we've got this complex that's got 16 soccer fields and 22 baseball fields, and that's great. Do you have like a premier field, a championship field where I've got seating? I can charge admission to get people in. I can set up for my broadcast compound. No, we don't. That's okay. Then you probably should talk to someone that's more in the youth space. We do need featured fields and facilities, right? Huge convention centers where you got to bring in a bunch of bleachers and seating and things like that. That's not the experience we're looking for at the collegiate level to make a championship. Not a bad thing, right? Ancillary space for Fan Fest, but just thinking about what the fit is and us doing a better job of communicating that that's not bad. Those are great things, but that's probably a better fit for a youth event and not so much ours. And then the final part to your question, Kerri, is about how to make your bid stand out. While we don't have bid fees, your bid, and we guarantee and reimburse for expenses. If you've got state grants, tourism grants, funding to offset expenses or to enhance the experience, or marketing dollars to help promote it within your community, that's a value, right? Put that in your bid. That's a great thing for us. We're not saying write us a check. We're saying help us to deliver a first class experience in your community. And oftentimes you know how to do that better than we do. But don't be intimidated, right? That part you can do just like you do with hosting youth sports and events, right? The packets or the coupons or the giveaways. College kids want that just as much as the U12 kids do as well. So
I've definitely said this too, but one of my best college memories is that we used to go to the same hotel in North Carolina. We had the same chocolate and welcome bag every time, and it still is ingrained. Actually, my old teammate's here, and she remembers that. But it really goes a long way for just the overall experience for the college athletes. And so I know one thing that you learned from the last cycle was pushing more of those sports that maybe didn't get as much attention and bids. Could you let everyone know what some of those sports are, maybe the opportunity there?
Yeah, and many of those are what we call our individual slash team sports. So think about sports like swimming and diving, wrestling, gymnastics, golf, where there's a team component, but the student athletes participate as individuals. And why those are valuable? Because they're over longer periods of time, right? Folks, America, it's commonality. You think about the most popular sports in our country; they're around team sports. Individual sports are a little tougher to find their fan base, but from an economic impact and driver, the individual sports are far better. And women's sports, right? And I'm guilty of it as well. I've got a a 20-year-old son and a daughter who just turned 18 2 days ago. But anyhow, when they were younger and in youth sports, my wife and I would go with my daughter every time. We're always going, and grandma's going, and aunt's going. My son, we throw him in the car with the coach and some other people. But on average, we're seeing, 2.5 to 3.5 attendees per participant on the women's side. We're seeing about 1.2 or 1.5 attendees for the men's side for individual sports, right? So thinking about that as you build out a strategy, track and field, if you've got cross country, those types of things are really attractive. I know it's easy because everybody's, hey, we got courts, we can do volleyball, we can do basketball, we got baseball fields, we got soccer complexes. Yeah, those things are great, but where you can separate yourself is if you've got facilities that can accommodate some of those individual team sports, it's really valuable, and there's not as much competition.
That's awesome. I do want to open it up for any questions. Jordan.
If you could touch on just how I know Division One for women's flag football is like kind of getting a bigger as like a club sport, NCAA levels, but how flag football is going to be looked at from your standpoint with NCAA going forward for us to look at as destinations?
Yeah, great question. We have at the NCAA what we call emerging sports, and what that means is many of them start as clubs, but to get to championship status for the association to sponsor a championship in that, we have to have enough institutions sponsoring that sport as a varsity sport that triggers legislation to do that. It looks like we're on pace to be doing or sponsoring a women's flag football championship probably in the spring of 2028. We haven't gotten there yet. They're still in that emerging sport space, but we had acrobatics and tumbling and stunt, which came online, and we'll be hosting those championships for the first time in the spring of 2027. The same path, right? Club sports on campus, institutions start to make commitments around sponsoring those as a varsity sport. The magic number for us is 40, for consideration, but you've got to have some data that supports kind of continued participation. And it looks like for flag football, we're going to be there in 2028.
So just to give everyone, so what should they expect in terms of timing, and how will you be updating?
Yeah, so I would encourage everybody, if you haven't been there already, go to ncaa.org/bids, ncaa.org/bids, BIDS. That's our kind of central repository where bids are. They're also on Playeasy, and we'll be updating our information on Playeasy, but that's kind of the central hub for where you can find the RFPs now, where the additional information will come as we get closer to kind of opening the bid portal, information about updates in any of the RFPs, new things that we might be announcing. They will live there.
In touch to continue those updates on Playeasy. But yeah, everything leads to where Anthony's saying, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ryan, for closing us out. But no, thank you, Anthony, for being here. Before we jump into our interview with Jenna from Prep Network, we wanted to let you know that Prep Network is hiring a facilities and CVB manager. This high ownership role drives their annual facility planning, negotiates contracts across all 9 brands, and builds the CVB and venue partnerships, powering 200 plus tournaments and 250 plus showcases each year. If you're interested or know someone interested, please contact Jenna, Jenna, at prepnetwork.com. Jenna, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Could we start out by just giving a little bit of your background and what you do at Prep Network?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Jenna Jasinski. I work for Prep Network. I've been with the company for about 7 years. In my time there, I've worked across a few different areas of the business. I was actually like employee 17. We now have about 95 employees and close to 100 as we're continuing to grow. And so working for a startup company is a really unique experience, and just everything that I've gotten to learn during my time there. I've worked across partnerships and marketing. Most of my time at Prep Network has been spent on the customer experience support side, and then along with sales operations, working with clubs and programs across the country to get them to come to our tournaments. And then as of this October, I now oversee our entire event operations side of the house, from facilities and scheduling, the shipping, the boxes, the apparel, staffing, directors, assigners, you name it, everything that goes into the events. So that has been my time so far.
And you guys are actually, you just were named one of the Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies list, and you guys keep adding sports brands. So could you talk about some of the sports that you represent?
Yeah, for sure. So our kind of mainstay brands that we have 10 brands operating under 7 sports. So girls and boys basketball, volleyball, football, our core kind of sports. And then our emerging brands are soccer, softball, lacrosse. So that's all been new and exciting from the experience standpoint for us. So with that, in 2026, we ran 200 showcases across those core sports and about 175 tournaments. In 2025, we ran about 90 tournaments. And so we about almost doubled in size there, and looking to continue to grow in our emerging brands, and also while planting like new seeds in the core brands that we have. And so we've launched a lacrosse showcase. It sold out in 2 days. We added 30 spots. It sold out in like 2 minutes. Looking to add softball showcases and soccer showcases across the country before diving into the tournament side as well.
I know that the sports tourism space is pretty new to you and working with destination partners. And so what are you looking for out of a host city?
Yeah, for sure. I had experience working a little bit with CVBs and hotels on the sales operations side of the house, just navigating that with customers and the programs who are trying to find their hotels and where they're booking. For us, as we're kind of dipping our toes back into this, is a lot of what a lot of people have already been talking about. It's the partnerships, it's the relationships, like the responsiveness, the communication. And we really want to have that like intimate feeling with the cities and the facilities. Like, as dumb as it sounds, is like we want to know like what time the AC is turning on, like how many times are the bathrooms being cleaned. Those are the things that like we hear from our customers. And for us, like across Prep Network, like experience is a really big thing for us. And in the past year, as we've grown and expanded, like we actually have an entire department that's dedicated to audience and experience, whether that's through online foot traffic, through our content side, or on site at our events. And so it's all the way down to how are we training our directors? What are they saying as someone's walking through the door? What are they getting and how are they leaving and feeling as they're entering our space? And so it's not just a transaction for us as we're working with different programs and facilities. Like we really want to continue to build those relationships, and like a lot of those relationships that we've built in the past for volleyball and basketball like are coming into play now as we're getting into the soccer and the softballs and lacrosse, because they also have access to those fields and facilities too. So just continuing to grow with that and becoming more like indebted into those cities is super important to us. I think what's like unique about our past is like at times we were only in cities maybe once or twice a year, and just as we've grown, that number is now 5 or 6. And so it does make more sense to be connected to like the stakeholders in this room and just continuing those relationships.
That's awesome. I think that's been another just common theme, are those long-term partnerships.
Yeah.
And so could you give people an idea of where in the country you are now, and then where are you looking to get into? Anywhere specific, and what are you looking for out of that part?
Yeah. So our content and events are operating, I think, about 40 to 45 states right now. A lot of states we're in already, which is super exciting. We're heavy in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes area, and for kind of our mainstay brands. Outside of that, we've expanded into the East Coast, North and Southeast this past year, and had really great success out there with the programs that we're working with in facilities. And so continuing to like build off of those events. We also ran out on the West Coast. We have a strong following, Colorado and Texas, and just continuing to expand on that for us. I think someone mentioned earlier, just like the honest and transparency, like an event to start for us, like could range from 30 to 40 teams. But once we start batting at 100 teams, like that's success for us. And I think we all know as operators or the right holders in here, that doesn't just happen overnight. And it might take a year to get there or 2 years to get there. And so like our home run events or our marquee events in certain regions are when we hit that 200 team mark. We just ran an event this spring in Minnesota called Battle of the Lakes, and we had 545 teams there. That event didn't start at 545 teams, and 2 years ago it was only 230 teams. And so just as we continue to grow, like we want to embody that like foundation and create more events like that are the mainstays and like the drivers, that there is that like one regional event that everyone wants to go to.
It's amazing. And for logistically, from what you need out of a venue, is it something that you are looking for, more than 4 courts or 8 fields, or is it something you're more open to any sort of location?
Yeah. I think every event operator would say like, yeah, under the same roof all the time is amazing. But we know in certain markets, in certain areas, like that isn't always doable. And so for sure, like when we're starting events, it's the smaller 4-court venues to get it off the ground, and then expanding into the 6 to 10 court venues with that. Obviously with outdoor space, like finding more courts and fields in one spot is not always ideal. So a lot of our 7-on-7 events, they do operate between 2 or 3 facilities, and like it's still a great experience for us.
Awesome. Now I want to open it up to any questions.
Yeah, one question I have. I mean, Prep Network is a brand that I've always 7 years doing this now. And it's awesome here that you're expanding across the country. How have you been able to go from 50 teams to growing like in those certain locations? What's unique about your events that you can communicate to the venues and destinations? This is how we will grow this. This is what has been proven time and time again of how we grow these events.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've talked to a few people in the crowd about this over the past couple of days. I think for us is just like our dedicated resources that we have as a company, and like the structure that we're set up in. It's not just you talking to me and like I'm doing the marketing and the content and talking to the teams and so forth from there. Like we have dedicated groups that are able to like execute on that. While we also have like a regional sales team who has been building those relationships for us across the country to draw that following. We have our scouts who are on site at a high school game, another operator's event, our events, who are also building the relationships and like promoting the brand. And so for us, it's really a group effort, and it sounds cheesy to say, but like our team has been able to just like really hone in on the experience for our attendees and our events, and just have one main focus to continue to grow those.
Awesome. And for a host city that is interested in hosting you, what would be one piece of advice you would give working as a partner with you?
Yeah, I think for us is just like transparency. Like, I mean, you guys want the same thing from us, and there's going to be some host cities that will make a lot of sense for us, and there's going to be others that are like in the middle of nowhere, and we're like, I don't know how this is going to like functionally work to have travel teams come in and out. And so like the more communication that we have as like a partnership between us and a host city, like the better as we're continuing to evolve. And I think for us, like we're already running in a lot of cities and recognizing the cities that are here, and now we want to like continue that conversation to get to those 500 team events or those 200 team events, to just really like keep bringing that back for the group.
That's great. And so if anyone wants to connect with you after this, what is the best way to do so?
Yeah, you can reach out to me via email. It's just jenna@prepnetwork.com, and I will direct you to the right people on my team and communicate with that relationship.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jenna. Appreciate it. Arian, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So I know to get us started, could you give us a little bit of your background and the evolution of Mars?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I do that, first I just want to thank you and the entire Playeasy team for having me. I remember the first time I had an opportunity to meet you guys in, I think, Fort Worth about 4 years ago, and just to see what you all have pulled off and are doing is incredible. So hats off to you all. But yeah, for me, main attraction, recreational sports, that's what MARS stands for. I started this brand in 2016 in Charlotte, North Carolina. A buddy of mine, we went to school together, and we grew up playing like some of the common and traditional sports. So as an adult, when he got into playing kickball and was sharing it with me, I just was like, this is weird, like kickball, who does that as an adult? But after having an opportunity to kind of check it out and see it, I wanted to bring something like that to the city of Charlotte, where we're based out of. And, my wife and I, we started a small local league. I think our very first season, we had 6 teams, 90 players. And, you couldn't tell us we weren't on top of the world. And from since that time till now, we've signed a streaming deal with ESPN. We're one of the most popular brands of adult kickball tournaments in the country. We're in 14 cities this year. Since starting the Turf Wars brand in 2019, we've done some amazing things, have had the number one in destination economic impact across kickball organizations. First and only adult kickball organization to ever feature the game of adult kickball on a nationally syndicated network, and established some really great partnerships along the way. And so, those are some of the things I'm most proud of and what we were able to accomplish.
Yeah, and similarly to you, I feel like we've known each other for a long time now, and you have been a great beta tester for us for a lot of what we're building. And so
Thank you.
I recently saw you guys at a conference, and your booth was about 4 times the size of ours. So it's so cool to see how much growth that you have had. And I know a big part of what you do is around partnerships and the investment that you've made into whether that be partners and sponsors. Could you speak to how that has helped with your growth as an organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I touch on that, one thing that I do want to mention is that, the partnerships, we started one with Playeasy. I remember the first time when I was checking out the platform, and then, I was like, guys, there's something wrong with this platform. He was like, what is it? I was like, it's missing kickball. And now it has kickball on there as an option, right? So like that was a partnership. But, for us, partnerships go a long way. And it really has served as the catalyst for why we've been able to accomplish a lot of the things that we have. We're a small mom and pop shop. We don't have this $1 trillion budget where we're able to create these enhanced experiences. So we lean on our partners a lot to support us in that space, whether that's with the destination or with a brand or corporation. It's all the same. Our objective in building these partnerships is simple. It's all about building community. And so when these partners come in and they help us and create these enhanced experiences, we're able to expand our reach, which allows us to grow our community, build that community. And, that's what it's really all about. So for us, there's a huge level of importance that goes into that.
And I know you started in Charlotte. Could you give everyone an idea for where you are now as you continue to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been blessed and fortunate with the opportunity to travel in so many different markets. This year we're in 14. We will be in Vegas this weekend. I fly out tomorrow morning for our Vegas event. But, we were in Tampa earlier this year, New Orleans, New York City and Manhattan. We'll be in Milwaukee this year, Auburn, Alabama in October with the cool table.
I might ask Auburn to sponsor this whole thing.
Salt Lake City, Utah. We'll be in Salt Lake City. Austin, Texas. We were just in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We'll be in Stafford, Virginia. Charlotte, North Carolina. Kannapolis, North Carolina. So, for us, we travel to so many different destinations, both large and small. And it's crazy, to imagine that we would have taken kickball to that level,
That's amazing. And for people to know logistically, what do you need to be able to host one of your kickball events?
Yeah, so unlike when we were kids and played on traditional, softball fields, nowadays for us, what's ideal is a soccer field. We look for 3 to 4 full-size soccer fields, because from a logistics standpoint, that really allows us to, host and facilitate multiple teams over the weekend. So one soccer field alone, we can run up to 4 games on that field. And if you're running 4 games on one soccer field, that's 8 teams playing at once. You got 3 fields, that's 24 teams playing simultaneously. So from a logistics standpoint, it just makes sense for us. It gives us an opportunity to invite and welcome more people to be a part of that experience.
And what are you looking for out of a partnership with a host city?
So with a partnership when it comes to destinations, the number one thing, like I mentioned, community. But for us, we want that partnership to really be authentic to where we are. You heard those gentlemen on the stage from Rock Hill in York County yesterday kind of talking a little bit about the local businesses and things like that, right? Well, we know if I host a kickball tournament in Ann Arbor, I mean, you could play kickball anywhere, but what is it about the Ann Arbor destination that we can really kind of lean into to make that experience authentic to Ann Arbor? And so that means, whether it's identifying some of the local businesses or like the speakeasy we went to yesterday to make that and incorporate that, make that a part of the experience. These are all things that we invite and that we welcome. And so when we're partnering with destinations, that's one of the primary things that we're looking at. Like I'll give a prime example when we work with Anthony and team in Auburn. The biggest thing for us is like, okay, the meet and greet, where are we going to do it? There's a cool place called Tiger Town, and that's local to Auburn. So now every time we go to Auburn, we think about Tiger Town. We want to go there. That's a local business. Bunkers, another, local business that's in that area. And so for us, that's a huge thing. When we partner with these destinations, we want it to be authentic to that destination.
I love it. And you credit a lot of your growth to the community that you've built.
Mhm.
How have you been able to build that kind of community?
I think it happened in a multitude of ways. Number one, organically, when you have a product that, you've taken the time to build and make a quality product, number one, you're going to earn the trust of the community. And that's important. That's what we hang our hat on. We, not only do we want to build a product and a brand that people can trust, but our partners can trust us. When we say, yes, we're going to come, we're not going to burn you. We're not going to back out. We're not going to commit to something that we don't believe that we can do. And I think that's number one, earning that trust. Number two is we really kind of, over the past year, made a concerted effort to build our community on social media. Within the last year, we've grown our social media to levels that are just beyond what I could have ever imagined. Nearly 200 million earned media views on social media, over 100,000 organic followers. We're now monetizing on social media, which is something that I didn't imagine that we'd be doing. But for us, that's also a part of helping us expand our reach and grow in that space too. So when you look at those two sides of it, I think those are ways that we've been, heading in the right direction.
That's incredible. And I know you just had your first event in New York.
Mhm.
And so you are still continuing to expand.
Yes.
Are there any open opportunities for destinations?
Absolutely. And for us, scaling up was definitely important to us, and we knew that we have to get into new markets to do that. There's only 12 months in the year, and so it's like, well, how are we going to be able to facilitate more events, do more projects within this tight window, and still commit to the destinations that we've establish great partnerships with, but also tap into new markets and plant new seeds. And then while doing all of that, create experiences where they don't seem redundant for the players. Like, what are we going to do? And so one of the things that we decided to really kind of help us check those boxes was create different pillars within the experiences. And so right now, when you look at our tournaments, we have a traditional format for our tournaments where players could sign up, they can play on any team that they want, and they have their traditional weekend experience. And that's one thing. But then we also build out a Midnight Madness experience where the games take place like in the middle of the night. And then we have another pillar where we have a Battle of the States. And then we have another pillar where it's the special events. And now because we've created these different pillars, we can create different experiences at different destinations and expand out and do more. So, for example, in the summertime, we could do like our Midnight Madness Open and our Midnight Madness Nationals. And we can pick two West Coast cities to do that. And it doesn't conflict with our traditional tournaments, which we can pick 3 destinations for that. And so essentially in a year, we can have 4 different nationals under all the different pillars. And that's kind of like how we've been able to scale up, do more events, make them unique, and tap into other destinations.
That's awesome. I do want to open it up for questions. Yep, Jen.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. 1 second, Jennifer.
Yeah. So she was asking about, it's called Rate Your Ref. And what that means is rate your referee. Right. And so like many of us in sports, we all play sports. We know if we lose a game, it's the referee's fault.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. Like if we lose, it's the ref's fault. There was a point in time for us where we were really having an uphill battle and a challenge with the relationship that our referees and our players were having. right? Whether it was a disconnect between the players not understanding the rules or, the referees, whatever the situation may be. But we knew that it's a very important part of the experience to make sure that the referees are able to provide that level of excellence in terms of service on the field for the players. So it was like, all right, well, what can we do to make that experience a little bit better? And so what we created at the time was called Rate Your Ref, where in real time, players on the field were able to complete a survey for their referee. They will receive these silicone wristbands, and after the game, they can scan their wristband. It takes them to a landing page, and you can give your referee however many stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, however. But at our headquarter tent, my team and I, we can look in real time and say, okay, field number 1, ref, John Doe got 2 stars. In real time, we could have a training moment and an opportunity with him where we could say, okay, there was a disconnect between you and the players, XYZ. How can we get better for game 2? And if the ref performed exceedingly well and got 5 stars, hey, John may need a bump in his pay today, right? And I just kind of leaned into the idea, like all of us, before we get out of our Uber, this already, hey, rate your experience. Before we shut the door, we're giving our Uber driver, 5 stars or whatnot. So why not take that same concept and integrate it into the gameplay experience? And that's what that was about.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
If my dad is still here, he'd give straight 1s. So that is.
Yeah.
But sorry, yes.
Arian, since this is an adult league, do you see that players are traveling with their families and kids, and it's kind of turning into a family weekend, similar to how youth sports do?
1,000%. 1,000%. Kickball is the disguise. Players are using this as opportunities to travel. They're making vacations out of it. They're making trips out of it, which is why there's that mindset. We understand our players' journey, and it's important for us to make sure that we deliver. And what we're noticing is that a lot of the players now that we're seeing just get an opportunity to start playing because we're 21 and up. We're seeing that going back and looking at pictures 7 years ago, and you're like, wait a minute. Is that the kid that was like, because now you're starting to see like some of the kids, they're now becoming young adults and they're playing. And that comes from when they travel with their family and, did things like that when we first came around. And also too, we're very intentional about what we curate on the weekends. We want our meet and greets to be family friendly. So you'll look at our meet and greets, they start at like 7:30 and end at like 10. Because most adult social game bars and things like that, they allow children to come in during the earlier hours. And I bring my kids. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old that's turning 15 and 17 in 2 weeks, and so I love to bring them with me and have them come and we play arcades and do stuff like that. So, I definitely see, this as an experience where people bring their families and stuff.
Arian, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Vlad, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great event thus far, and just thank you.
Oh, good. Always happy to hear that. And so could you start by giving a little bit of your background and your role within USA Table Tennis?
My name is Vlad Farkas. I serve as event coordinator for USA Table Tennis. I've been with the organization for 3 years. I've been playing table tennis my whole life. It's been basically my life since I was 11-year-old. And now I serve as event coordinator. I also coach the Paralympic team. That's kind of how I started with USA Table Tennis. And now I do more of the event side. I oversee all our national and international events.
Awesome. And could you give everyone kind of an idea of the scale of your organization?
Yeah, so we are the national governing body for table tennis, and we host about a dozen events every year. Like USA Table Tennis hosts 1,000 events, but we sanction over 300 events with local clubs and different event organizers. And we have our top tier events in terms of participation are the US Nationals and the US Open, both around 1,000+ players, bringing a lot of friends, family. A lot of our participants are youth, so they come with coaches, they come with parents, and we also host international events. Lately, we've been bringing a Pan-American event each year. Last year, with our friends from Rock Hill, Brian, we hosted for the first time the Pan-American Championships qualifying event for Worlds. And you see here the setup. It was a great setup at Rock Hill Sports at Events. And we just won the bid for World Masters, which is the World Championship for ages 40 and over, and is the largest tournament in terms of participation, table tennis tournament in the world.
Amazing. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
awesome. Now, I know for your events, you have very specific requirements for the venue. Could you communicate what it is that you need out of an event venue?
So usually we like a big space. For US Nationals, US Open, we want to have 150,000 square feet. We bring our own flooring, so the operation of setting up, it's quite comprehensive. To floor 150,000 square feet with own flooring requires a lot of operation. And yeah, lighting is really important. You know, the table tennis ball is so small, so to be able to have good lighting already in the building, not having to bring lighting from outside, that's very important. And yeah, for sure, a great venue. You know, like I put here in the picture we had in Spokane, Washington. At the podium, we had a great series of events, a Paralympic event, and also an able-bodied event at the same time running parallel. And this was in the summer and in an indoor track event, in an indoor track venue, which were really great for Spokane because that venue in the summer is not utilized. And for them, they were really creative. They brought us, and we had an amazing turnout. And we're going back in August. So
That's amazing. And so, could you speak to? I know you have an active RFP open right now. Can you speak about the requirements for that, when it is, and any details?
yeah, so we have open US Nationals for 2027. We're looking ideally for 150,000 square feet, but we can work anywhere from 90,000 and up. You know, US Nationals is the premier national table tennis events. We have, within the tournament, we have over 100 events. So we have, it's the US Nationals for kids, under 11, under 13, over 40, over 50, doubles, singles. So it's a true celebration of table tennis. And you know, with the Olympics coming up, table tennis really been growing and kind of reaching the mainstream status. Like when you go on YouTube, you always like you watch shorts, always come like a table tennis rally. I bet everybody saw a table tennis rally in shorts, right? So with LA coming up, it's really for us. We've seen so much growth. We're hosting this year Nationals in San Jose, and we're gonna have record number. US Nationals been held since 1975, and this is going to be the highest number of participants. So, but we did host in Huntsville, Alabama. We hosted in Fort Worth, Texas. So we are open to bigger markets. We're looking to somewhere close to an airport that's nationally that has a lot of flights, but we're not necessarily looking only to the big markets. We can be
Open to
creative.
any. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
And what are you looking for out of a destination host partner?
So definitely a great partnership. One of the things that I appreciate a lot is when the destination also helps us market the event locally, because we market nationally. We bring the people from all over US, and if we talk about US Open, from all over the world. But we truly want to bring local community to see table tennis for the first time, and to have a legacy. For example, USAT was involved when we ran the World Championships in Houston in 2021. And since 2019, we've went to Texas 3 times, and now we see Texas one of our hubs for table tennis. So I believe that everywhere we go, we kind of leave a legacy, and we want to see table tennis like power just grow.
Is there, especially leading up to LA 28, is there a lot of intentionality of growing the sport within the youth space?
Yeah, for sure. We're hosting a lot of different youth events. We have 2 youth ranking tournaments that we host, and brings together over 300 kids. And there's a lot of growth and development in table tennis. And yeah, we are intentional from where we host the events. We're trying to be, of course, a lot in California area, but also we're trying to balance East Coast and West Coast. We have our big table tennis hubs are in Bay Area and also in New York area. Mostly throughout, table tennis is very popular throughout the Asian community. So wherever you have high number of Asian community, that's where usually table tennis is thriving.
And table tennis is interesting because probably everyone in this room has played at some point or thinks that Ryan's shaking his head like he could go to the next Olympics. But what is something that people might not know about the sport and maybe that is also different in hosting your type of event?
Well, I think about the sport, I think it's one of the most difficult sports to play at the highest level because the reaction time is you have to be so fast, but you also at the same time not only use hand-eye coordination but also read the spin of the ball. So it's very difficult. It's almost like golf. What people don't know is just that there's table tennis clubs everywhere, and I meet with a lot of destinations, and I tell them, hey, like you guys have a table tennis club, and we didn't even know. So most likely there is a table tennis club in your area, and there's a lot of passionate people in the communities willing to host and grow events. For example, just this weekend, I'm coming from Wisconsin. I work with a destination that Beloit, and they were able to host an event, a regional event. They really wanted to host table tennis, so we told them I think regional event would be good for you guys. We connected them with a local organizer, and they brought 250 players from over 20 states. And this Midwest event grew by 70%. So it was really nice. It was one of those things that you under promise and over deliver. I heard it in the morning. So there's a lot of opportunities for all markets to host table tennis events. And yeah, I would be happy to talk with all destinations if you guys want to host table tennis for sure.
Awesome. I do want to ask any questions.
I think there's a movement around racket sports right now. Like we did the pickleball earlier, and then now you're hearing about padel and then paddle. So I think there's a big momentum leading up to the Olympics as well, where you guys are going to be on the Olympics. Is there anything you guys are doing different, I guess, leading up? I know you're going to be in California, but are the post Olympics, because I know I'll be watching, after the Winter Olympics, curling, they just launched a whole new league to try to capitalize on the popularity. But yeah.
For sure. I think what we're trying to do is to bring also a lot of international events, kind of to bring the whole world to US and play table tennis, preparing for the Olympics and Paralympics. We're hosting one of the 5 premier Paralympic events again in Spokane, and we'll host again next year. So that's one thing we're actively doing. We're trying to bring the world to US. And the same thing that you said, I think after the Olympics and leading up to Olympics, table tennis will get so much exposure, and so many more people will start playing. So get on the bandwagon now.
Yeah, and just to end us, I know you said there's a lot of opportunity for all types of destinations. So what's one piece of advice you would give for a destination that wants to work with you?
I think just invest in the idea of hosting a table tennis event and grow the event locally, whatever you can get. We have the state series where we host a state championship, a state open in every state. We have 5 regional championships where we host the region, and really it's open to all country, even though it's aimed to be the best tournament in the region. We have international events, we have US Open, we have US Nationals. So there's different tiers, but everybody's welcome to host something.
Awesome. And for anyone who wants to get in contact with you, what would be the best way to do so?
Through my email is my first name, that's my last name, at usat.org.
Awesome. Thank you, Vlad, so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mark, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kerri. It's great to be here. I can't thank you and Ryan enough for putting this on. I mean, it's been a great show, and learning so much about Compass has just been incredible.
Amazing. Well, I know just to start, could you give a little bit about you, your background, and your organization?
Yeah, so my wife Ann and I took over Big Bear tournaments in 22, and it kind of came from a long life of sports and hockey. So I grew up playing high school hockey in the 90s and had this great aspiration. I was going to become a Division I hockey player with very little experience. And after about 30 seconds on the ice for a walk-on tryout at Ferris State, I realized, I'm not even close to this good. So I did the next best thing and became a Zamboni driver. And
Amazing.
so I met my wife at that ice rink. Our son has also worked for that hockey team for years, and he's now graduated. Our daughter works for that hockey team, and so it kind of came full circle. I reffed hockey for many years, reffed tournaments for Big Bear. Recognized that the owner at the time, he had started the company in the 90s and created this great brand. But, over the last 5 years or so of his tenure, the quality kind of dwindled and the reputation began to suffer. And so when Ann and I took over, we immediately went on this, real strong rebranding, trying to bring the reputation of the company back and doing things like this just to get out there and say, it's not the same old Big Bear. It's a different company, and it's a much better company.
That's awesome. And I love the family businesses we have on today's podcast. But how have you been able to differentiate from, you said you've evolved a lot as an organization as you've taken over. So could you explain what has gone into the investment of just revitalizing your brand?
Yeah, it starts with the image, right? It starts with the image of the company, the website, the presence that you have on media, and just the product that you put on the ice at the end of the day. That's what people are paying for. We have a very captive audience for 3 or 4 days, sometimes in a destination city, and we want to be able to provide that whole hockey vacation and not just another 4 hockey games at a different barn, and it kind of runs into the normal part of the season. We want it to be extraordinary and provide that value.
And I know, could you tell everyone where you are based out of and where you are currently running events?
Yeah, so we're based in Michigan here. Ann and I live in Grand Rapids. Our office is in Detroit. We have a great partnership with Megan and Zach and Mike and the team at the Ann Arbor Sports Commission, which is fantastic. We do a number of events here, but we're in 11 states. We do on average 65 or 70 tournaments annually. Teams from youth 8U all the way through 18U. We do a handful of events that are cross ice, which is the youngest kids, where we split the ice in half, and we do a handful of events where we do that way. And as Ann and I have worked, we've kind of tried to recognize what the customers want. Right? That's the biggest thing. What do they want? They want really good competition. They want a value in what you're providing. So is it just another 4 hockey games, or is it, James and the group from Weekend Hockey, just a great group of guys. And I met them for the first time, and he talked a lot about that with his Canadian following, right? He talked about that with his Canadian following. And, we kind of have that same thing. And we recognize that through the Midwest that, teams follow us out to Washington, D.C., out to St. Louis. We moved into Springfield, Missouri, which most people aren't familiar with Springfield, Missouri as a hockey destination, and that's what we're trying to uncover. What's the next kind of hidden gem that's out there? We always want to start with, 2 sheets of ice or more, but it's with the destination. If they only have 1 sheet, that's all they have to offer. But we can work together on other parts of that event that still make it worthwhile.
And where are you looking to expand, and where do you see growth for your organization?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold. Just from a destination standpoint, it's the Mid-Atlantic, out into the West. We do a South Lake Tahoe tournament. We've done a couple of years in a row now. It's been very small just because we don't have a lot of brand recognition there. But that's continuing to grow. So those are the 2 big areas that we want to move into. But it's also looking at where we're currently at. What is 3 or 4 or 6 hour drive from a big hub of our core tournament groups, which is the greater Midwest out into Pennsylvania and, down through the Mid-Atlantic.
It's funny. I grew up playing basketball, but I went to Boston College, which is one of the premier hockey schools. And hearing the background of the traveling family of hockey families was a completely different experience than us as basketball players. Could you speak to what type of visitor the hockey players and their families are?
Yeah, it covers the whole gamut, right? But we're in the tier 2 space, so it's not quite your elite level teams, that have a very strict requirement on what their hotel must be and what their tournament must be. We're a little bit more open in that regard in the tier 2 space, but mainly they're looking for a good value in the hotel. They're looking at amenities are a big thing for us, right? Kids don't remember the score 5 years from now. They remember that time in the pool with when Johnny did this or whatever, right? So it's the value in the hotel. Are they provided breakfast? That's a big deal because most of the time this isn't, a dad and a son or a dad and a daughter that are traveling. This is a family of 4 that are traveling. Anytime you put a family of 4, in a town that's hours away from home, they're spending hundreds of dollars to do that, and so it's creating that value. The pool's got to be operational. That's a big deal, right? But then when we move into the older level kids, maybe it's not quite such a big deal. So we try to do everything that's really, age appropriate and focus it on if we're covering all ages, if this is a big, 150 team tournament where we've got every age group possible, it's wide open on what they're looking for. Some of the younger kids, they like to go to Dave and Buster's or, just as an example, right? But the older kids, they like to do stuff like in Indianapolis, go to the NCAA Hall of Champions and things like that, so just trying to provide that extra value in what they can do to get out into the community and, working with Playeasy and the Ann Arbor Sports Commission, where we were able to put Compass in place, kind of on a trial basis on one of our tournaments. And, it was really well received, and it helps. The first thing somebody's doing on a Friday night is sitting at the rink scrolling through, and it's the first thing that Google says, right? John kind of touched on that yesterday.
Yep.
Take it out of the hands of whoever paid Google the most and put it into the hands of the people that are driving that community.
No, I love it. And I know you speak to your great partnership with Ann Arbor. What do you look for out of a host destination?
Yeah, it's the partnership, right? We've all talked about it. Every one of us that's been up here has talked about creating that partnership and having that good relationship, knowing that I can pick up the phone and say, hey, we want to do something a little bit different, but we need a little bit of help. We want to try having a VIP reception on Friday. Let's provide a little bit more value for that group. Now they don't have to pay for another meal when they get to the destination city. And just, being open to talk through, we don't know what's out there, right? There's very few of us that are operating in this market space of youth hockey that, takes advantage of these kind of meetings or conventions or summits or, whatever they might be. And so we don't really know what's out there. What are you guys able to provide us that will help us with our customer base? You kind of get an understanding of the groups of people that are playing in our tournament. So, what can we do together to get there? And we're not ever asking for money. That's probably the lowest tier thing that we're asking for, right? We're asking for exposure. We're asking for, help on connecting with the right people in the community to be able to get out. And what is that restaurant that can host, 40 rowdy hockey players for an hour and a half on a Saturday afternoon or something, right?
Yeah. And as you look to expand, are there any certain locations you're looking for? Any open opportunities currently?
Yeah. So for us, it's really venue, but it's more important is the date. So there's so many leagues throughout the country play, seeding rounds or division play, and it really limits the amount of weekends that teams can travel. And the first thing that a destination or a facility wants to offer is Thanksgiving, Christmas, or summer. So I'll be perfectly honest, if we're launching a new city in somewhat of a destination that's, maybe on the outskirts of our core customer base, during an off season when now the customer base has already shrunk, by 60% or more, the likelihood that we can successfully do that is pretty low. So, we really look at, does the date work? Does the facility have what we need to be able to put on the event? We do some things where we can take a single sheet of ice and make it a successful event, but that's where the destination really has to partner with us to help work through that because, it's kind of like James from Weekend, touched on it. We want 2 sheets of ice. We want 3 sheets of ice because it's the same amount of overhead for us to operate in a facility in a city with 3 sheets in one building or 1 sheet in one building, so it really takes a lot more from the destination of the smaller facilities to help us be able to put that package together.
All right. Well, That was awesome. So thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
you bet.
Eric, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So to start us off, could you tell us a little bit more about your background and about National Wheelchair Basketball Association?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been with the NWBA now for a little over 2 years. We, similar to Vlad, we are the national governing body for the wheelchair basketball that you see in the Paralympics. But we also run and manage 250 plus teams and 150 plus events throughout the regular season, which runs from October to April every year.
Awesome. Can you speak to what are the types of events you run every year and what are the demographics within the organization?
Sure. So our regular season is, smaller tournaments, maybe 10 teams up to some of our bigger tournaments will have 30, 40 teams. And those are all mostly managed by local event directors with our help kind of governing and running the compliance from the national office. And then at the end of the season, we run four to five national championships that span all of our different divisions. And those are usually back-to-back weekends, starting in mid-March and kind of going through mid-April. So those are the bigger. I mean, some our adult and juniors you're looking at 50 plus teams over 3 days. So those are our big tournaments. Every team's guaranteed 4 games, so you have a lot of athletes, a lot of parents, a lot of spectators coming in for those national championships.
And when we first met, we had a longer form conversation, and it was very eye-opening, and you did a great job of just educating on what it takes to host one of your events. Could you speak to what goes into hosting a successful basketball event?
Yeah, absolutely. So for our national championships, the planning process really starts now for next year's event. We're trying to cultivate kind of a championship level experience for all of our athletes that are coming in, oftentimes traveling from more than 100 miles away. So working with the airports to make sure that because almost all of our athletes are in day chairs, and then every athlete that comes in is coming in with a sport chair. So making sure that the airports are aware of, to expect a ton more wheelchairs than they normally would. Making sure the hotels are aware that, hey, a couple of our teams are really going to take over your hotel for the weekend. The restaurants are aware that, you might see 3, 4, 5, 6 teams coming through your restaurant during one night of service. Making sure that there's more, that they're aware of like the extra handicap parking that's going to be needed, the extra accessibility needs that go into having 1,000 wheelchair athletes in your city in one weekend.
And I know you're running multiple events every year, but you are also doing the educating. And so could you speak to how you go about educating cities on hosting one of your events?
Yeah, so I'm the event manager. I'm the only one. Our entire events team is me. So I'm getting on Zoom calls. I'm traveling to do site visits when appropriate. Part of the bid process typically involves me going, especially for our big events, involves me coming out to see your site and seeing like, okay, here's some things that I already know you guys are doing well. Here's some small changes that we can do to improve and make the experience just that much better for when our athletes actually show up for the event.
Awesome. I know that you have a few bids open right now. Could you speak to what they are and what you are looking for?
Yeah, so for 2027, we have one RFP just had to reopen, unfortunately, our intercollegiate national championship. So we host 16 men's and women's collegiate varsity programs for their national championship. Typically, the middle of March, that kind of kicks off our national championship season. So in 2027, we're looking at March 16 to 20. So looking for a championship venue. So like that's the one event where we just have one game going on at a time. We're not looking for multiple courts. We're just looking for like the championship court experience for those athletes. So that's a bid that's open right now. We're also looking to secure that for 2028 and beyond. Some of our other events are starting to fill up a couple years in advance, thanks to you guys at Playeasy. We've had our RFPs up there for a couple years, but always open to having conversations about whether it be our national championship level events or if there's an adaptive sports program in your area that has a basketball team that, hey, you might want to host a regular season event. So what's it take? Maybe we can introduce you to the director of that program, and you can get something locally started in October or November, and then kind of build your way up to hosting a national level event down the road.
For logistical items, I know you mentioned just being able to prepare for how many people will be in wheelchairs. So making sure the hotels are ready, the airports. What logistically do you need from the venue?
So most venues built in the last
50 years are, meet the minimum ADA requirements. However, when you have 1,000 athletes in your venue in a weekend, like the minimum ADA requirements aren't going to cut it. So how can you, when it comes to bathrooms, when it comes to handicap parking, when, we kind of, sometimes we've taken over like the first row of handicap parking and turned it into like a drop-off zone. So just allowing the team vans or the team buses to pull up as close to the venue as possible, get everybody offloading, get into the venue and then move away. So we might not even use the handicap parking as parking, just using it as that offload and pickup zone. So little changes like that, but bathrooms, accessibility, if there's stairs, near the main entrance, making a different entrance, the main entrance that has no staircase or ease of entry type point of entry concerns.
And I think the one thing that has come up in every conversation that we've had today is the partnership, and so that is really what you are looking for. Is there an example of a successful partnership that you have had that you could speak to?
Yeah, this past year, we've already completed our 2026 national championship. So we had a great partnership with Visit Monroe in Louisiana. Small city. Getting in and out of the city was difficult for our athletes. A lot of teams chose to fly to other nearby cities and drive in. But once we got there, they really took care of us. They did a great job of reaching out to the restaurants, and the restaurants that said, "Hey, we're gonna take the chairs away from a handful of tables so that wheelchair users can use the restaurant. We're gonna add extra handicap parking." So they helped us compile a list and really made sure that the teams were aware of all the local institutions that were in what they were doing to enhance the experience once they got to the city.
And I think something that your organization also does is the education piece. And so if there were destinations that want to find out and figure out if they are accessible or if there's more that they could do to help accommodate, what would you suggest?
There are other organizations that will come out to your site and do inspections. I'm blanking on the one name. I know they're based. They've been partnering with us ahead of our national championship next year in Mesa, Arizona, going through and looking at hotels and restaurants in the area. I'm happy to if you reach out to me after this to connect you with some folks that I know in that space that would be willing to come out to your site and do what I would do at a site visit, but just do it, just so you're more aware of what your the pros and cons of your venue when it comes to adaptive athletes.
Right. And with so many logistical items and moving pieces happening for your championship events, what are 3 things that you think really make it a success?
So first and foremost, it's the airports. It's the very first experience that our athletes have with your city, and it's the very last experience. So, they're either going to come in with a good attitude or leave with a good attitude based entirely off that experience. So you don't want to have an amazing national championship be completely ruined by chairs getting broken or getting lost at the airport or having a negative experience there. So I always say that's a top priority, having the partnerships, the relationships with the folks at the airports, so we can have those conversations. Reach out to the people that are going to be unloading and offloading the wheelchairs so that they're aware of the extra care and sensitivity that's required there. Second off is the venue. Obviously, that's ultimately where the athletes are going to be spending most of their time. So making sure that as much of their needs are met there is the next thing. And then hotels. So when you're bringing in 1,000 athletes, there's just no way for every single athlete to be in an ADA room. So we understand that there's going to be athletes that are just in a standard room. However, finding hotels that have a little extra space in their standard room than the average hotel goes a long way to making sure that those athletes are taken care of when they're recovering between events or between games.
I want to open up for questions.
So when you guys host, is it like a deal breaker if I know we host also Paralympic events, and for us, we're saying that the rule of thumb for hotel is to be able to enter with the wheelchair in the bathroom. So is that a deal breaker for you guys? If everything is good, but okay, the bathroom doors are not wide enough,
Yeah, bathrooms tend to be the biggest sticking point. When I go on site visits, we typically visit a couple hotels, and I've seen some crazy designs of hotels where, like, even as an able-bodied individual, like, why is this door opening that way? Why is there, it's crazy how some of them designed. In place of me actually going to the hotels, what I always tell people is, if you have like a swivel office chair, you use that, like, open the front door, sit in that office chair, and kind of see if you can navigate around the hotel bed, see if you can navigate into the bathroom and close the door behind you without some crazy maneuvering. So that's a good simple rule of thumb. But yeah, bathrooms and lower beds. Sometimes you see super high beds that are also difficult for individuals in chairs to transfer to. So yeah, those are definitely the two biggest concerns in the hotels.
Is it difficult to find for us? A lot of times when we host para events, it's difficult. Like, we try to get the hotel next to the venue, because like to find shuttle buses to do, when we have to take care of their transportation, it's very difficult to find ADA buses with more than 2 seats. So are you guys looking for?
Yeah, so our teams typically travel and take care of transportation on their own. The teams will get like a team van, and they'll all travel together in the van. So obviously, the closer the hotel is, the better. If there is a hotel that's nearby that they can roll from, that's ideal. But oftentimes those hotels are going to fill up immediately, and then we're looking at 5, 10, 15, as far as 30-minute drives away, just to accommodate all of our teams in that area.
Our destination is at the pretty beginning phases of creating like an accessibility guide. So some of the organizations that you are hinting at, like Wheel the World or Blue Path, are those reliable sources for you? Like, are you really checking those before you'd even consider a site visit?
Wheel the World was the name of the organization I couldn't think of. So
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay, but
they do great work.
it has a pretty significant financial investment, but you would say that's worth it from the organizer standpoint.
I didn't know with the financial. I know the folks from Mesa. They were the ones that contracted through them. So I wasn't aware how much of a financial commitment there is there. But I know that the work they do is good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Eric, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks.